right. How are we doing? Dealing with difficult people. I'm sure no one can relate to that. Welcome to Ask Away Thursday. My gosh, June 2nd. Can't believe it. Did you check out the coffin report? I hit the Bishop Bob McElroy, the tyrant bully bishop of San Diego, given a red hat by Francis the Merciful. Crazy. I'm rewinding here and making sure that I find y'all. Astrid says, sometimes I'm that difficult person, I'm afraid. I doubt it. I doubt it, Susan Pinkowski-Shaw. I doubt it, Lorraine. You guys are guilty of false humility. In fact, you are difficult people because you're liars about yourself. Just kidding. All right. For some reason, this is not loading in front of me. Let's get rolling here. Bonk. Bonk. Come on now. There we are. Wunderbar. Click to expand. Fantastic. So there are... Hello, Therese. Hello, Gina. Hello, Yvette. My gosh, this is going to be a good one. It's going to be good. Going to be good. Now, there are 4 comments here. And where are the other ones? Oh, well. There we go. Oh, that's from the, there we go. That's from the other post. The other post. So, do you agree with me that we're surrounded now by difficult people? Yes, the person in the mirror is probably a difficult person. We're all sinners. We all have fallen human natures. Francis the Merciful, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, is a difficult person. Most of our bishops are difficult people. Antifa is difficult. Poor sleepy Joe Biden, our non-president, he's difficult. Donald Trump's difficult. The defund the police people are difficult. Mainstream media, legacy media, they're difficult. Most of our pastors are difficult in the sense of weak, lame, too little too late, effeminate, no backbone, not willing to speak the truth, not willing to stand up for anything. Hello, Marty. Good to see you. So maybe we should first define what difficult really means. Some people are difficult because they have mental illness. They have narcissistic personality disorder, or they're bipolar and they're difficult, or any of the other personality disorders. And it makes them toxic, and it makes them gaslight, and it makes them hurt people. You know the phrase, hurt people, hurt people. Here's another one. Nemo dat quod non habet. This appears as a slide in just about every talk that I give. Nemo dat quod non habet. You can't give what you don't have. And I'm going to have a little treat here because I've been fasting. And I'm going to do this. So, Kaiser Hospital employees, they're difficult. Yep, many, I don't know, what is it, 80%? We want to go with the Pareto principle, 80-20? Difficult. Spouses, kids, teenagers, teenage girls. Unfair people, angry people on the road rage people. The apathetic are difficult people, aren't they? People who just don't care. And they don't care that they don't care. There's an old Canadian joke. What does a Canadian say when you tell him he's apathetic? Who cares? So I'd love to hear your stories about difficult people and what you do. That would be great. Teresa Sando has a lot of experience. One of my favorite people, one of my mentors in life, Teresa. I could go on and on about the virtues of Teresa Sando, who's an anti-difficult. Teresa's in a special category. She's an anti-difficult person. Super generous, smart, courageous, faith-filled, and a lot of experience as a 30-year plus RN. And what a fighter of all this, as the kids say, bullshittery around the COVID, and now the monkeypox, which is actually an STD that homosexuals get. Hogue, Kaiser, Teresa has war stories. I'm sure, Teresa, you can unload some. Gina, Yvette, Marty, Therese, any difficult people stories? When I hear this topic come up about dealing with difficult people, I think of 1 Corinthians 13:1. I think this has come up before inside the nation here, and I want to hear from you what you think of this. So picture yourself as St. Paul, and you're being inspired by the Holy Spirit, but you're also the human writer, and you're a wordsmith. You know a lot of words in Greek, and you in a way you write for a living. Writing is part of your warp and woof, and you're writing about love, the qualities of love. What's the first trait or quality of love that might come to mind as you're doing a list? Love is loving, love is nice, love is sweet, love is altruistic, love is other-directed, love is self-donating, self-sacrificing. Well, Paul lays it out with this word. Love is patient. Isn't every day an opportunity to grow in patience? Isn't every day filled with one frustration after another? The door you thought was open is closed. The broken relationship you thought would be fixed can't be. The driver you thought was going to slow down speeds up, cuts you off, gives you the middle finger. You drop the key. You can't find the card. Your wallet's missing. You're in the car. Where's my cell phone? You walk into a room. Why did I walk into this room? Sometimes the difficult person is you, right? This is sort of the theme here. Hello, Joe. And so just one opportunity after another to grow in patience. I'm not naturally patient, so I hate it. Let me get this in front of me here. Yeah, Paul says the truth. Teresa Sando rocks. Her husband rolls, too, so that's why God put them together. The entire medical world seems to have been reduced to uneducated, unprofessional, unethical beings. Yep, in hospitals, that is. Yeah, Teresa, do you care to share a Kaiser or a Hogue story? I think that might be instructive. You too, Marty. Any difficult people stories? I'm sure we've all got some of them. In fact, I think there's a. Here we go. How to deal with difficult people. Should have done this earlier. Is this a Andrew Carnegie? No, Gil Hassan wrote a book with 67% are 5-star ratings. This is by Gil Hassan. It's called How to Deal with Difficult People. Let me get that in there. Here we go. Marty says, I treat difficult people as project management risks. That's good. Avoid, easiest. Mitigate, do something to lessen the difficult nature. Passively accept, grin and bear it, namely them. And then I add another, pray for them. This lessens my irksomeness at their annoyingness. Here's an Abraham Lowism that I think helps. People do things. Abraham Low. Here it is. This is, I think, very helpful in dealing with difficult people. This is an Abraham Low quote. People do things that annoy us, not to annoy us. Yep. Marty's been praying for a lot of people. Nice. Gina, yes, Gina is also a RN2 working for Catholic Hospital. They're heading off the rails too. Yeah, Gina, you and Teresa would be BFFs. I'm sure you could finish each other's sentences. This is one great thing about Nationistas is me learning that you guys, in particular cases, have a lot in common, a lot of overlap, a lot of the same fire and commitment. It's cool. Hey, Lorraine. Teresa, when you say, is it St. Joseph, what do you mean? Is it St. Joseph? Teresa's wonderful, but sometimes she's cryptic. Sometimes she'll ask questions that make you scratch your head. Oh, I think, is it St. Joseph Hospital? Hello, Gilles Normando. Ah, yes, exactly. Gina's on the East Coast, but I think, Gina, I think Teresa's asking which hospital you work at. Hola, Gilles. So you heard that Barron got Duluth or Winona, which is a very interesting simultaneous, it's simultaneously a demotion and a promotion. So he was ordained to Chicago, and now he's going to not a big C. He's going to Winona, Rochester, in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota. I don't know. Oh, there it is. So Gina's St. Peter's University Hospital, New Brunswick, New Jersey. Very good. I don't think this bodybuilder scandal with Joey Glure on the make, sexually aggressive with 4 different women, I don't think that has much to do with this. I don't think Jorge Mario Bergoglio knows how to compute, how to evaluate Bishop Barron, who's just been on a bootlicking tour trying to position himself as a spiritual son of St. Francis. Everyone thought he was going to get a red hat or Chicago, go back to Chicago, which he still might do. He might track back to the Chicago land. I'm predicting that Bishop Robert McElroy will get Chicago since Blaise Supich has been kicked upstairs to Rome. Amazing that these guys get to pick bishops. Of course, just throwing it out there, the anti-pope evidence that I accept that Benedict's the real pope means that none of these appointments are authoritative. These are null and void. But where the sacraments are concerned, Ecclesia Supplet will cover the validity, but this is a big caca show. Yeah, Bishop Barron is a difficult person. He doesn't believe in Fatima. He doesn't believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. He doesn't believe that Adam and Eve are real people. They're just literary constructs. And if you believe that Adam and Eve are human persons, individuals, historical persons, then you are a ham-fisted fundamentalist. And he's also fine with gay marriage, which he told Dave Rubin that Obergefell Hodges was settled law, and he wouldn't want to stand on a crusader's tank about it. So yeah, very difficult. So it's a demotion for Barron because it's a Siberia, like middle of nowhere diocese in Bohunkville, but it's also a promotion because now he's a bishop. He's a local ordinary. He was a toothless lion canonically anyway, under Jose Gomez. As an auxiliary bishop of LA, he had to report to Jose Gomez. But Jose Gomez is quite the pushover, and Bishop Barron did whatever he wanted to. And even if Bishop Barron told me this directly in 2015, that the plan was to clean up the LA wreck by taking out 2 people who were bad and putting in 2 people who were good. That was 7 years ago. It's worse. Bishop Barron told me this to my face. It's worse. It was literally more Catholic under Roger Mahoney. True story. And as you know, it's really the Orange wreck. It happens in Anaheim, which is in the Diocese of Orange, which is run by Kevin Vann, another certified good guy, corrupt bishop. There's a Catholic mom who wrote to Bishop Van saying, "Hey, looking forward to your support for Archbishop Corleone." And a guy, this is in the Coffin Report. Bradley Zint, forget the guy's name. Is that the spokeshole guy for the diocese? Thank you for your concern. We need to pray both for Mrs. Pelosi and also for the Archbishop of San Francisco, that they be faithful to their ministries. And, honestly, it's so divisive now. We just don't want to add fuel to the fire. But Bishop Van did come out with a statement that the Texas shooter was racist. This is where we're at. 5% of the U.S. bishops backed Salvatore Corleone. 17 out of the how many hundreds? All right, let's go. Yvette, and the supposedly educated and well-read are the most difficult to deal with in my life. Yeah, that's true. If you're an intellectual, then you have a lot of facts to throw at people, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have charity. Remember, St. Paul says, knowledge puffeth up. Knowledge puffeth up. I'm doing the Surrender Novena now. Have you ever heard of the Surrender Novena? This is good to deal with difficult people, I think. My friend Albert Fada told me about this. Let's see here. Surrender Novena. Let Jesus take care of everything. Mary's little old man, Don Dolindo. He was a very holy man, a priest from Naples, who was a close friend and I think a spiritual father to Padre Pio. He died in 1970. There's one version of it. Very lovely prayers. And OurCatholicPrayers.com has one as well. Here it is. This is a beautiful, I'm on day 7 right now, but I give it to you because I know you'll love it. Bonk, there it is. Alrighty then. Susan, interesting correlation. Patience and difficult people. We have a circle of friends, and one friend is an elderly single man. Difficult. Those in our group who are more patient tend to find this person less difficult. Here's I won't give you the Latin phrase. It's from Thomas Aquinas, and it's very interesting. You may have heard this before. Here it is. Whoops. It goes like this. What is received according to the mode of the recipient. So if you're someone who is naturally patient or who really tries to grow in the virtue of patience, then the data of your experience, namely in this case the elderly, difficult single man, you're going to see him differently depending on your own lens, depending on your mode, your manner of being. And remember, it's patience when you feel like you want to throw the person down an endless hole or throttle them, but you don't. You wear the mask. That's what Abraham Lowe says. When in temper, wear the mask. Just bite the bullet. An exorcist will tell you, I think I've heard Father Chad mention this, and Adam Bly, same thing. The devils hear things. I mean, if you unleash some tirade, that's going to get evil spirit's attention. Was that person resentful toward? And they can kind of capitalize on it. Because, as we know from, is it 2 Peter? The devil is a lion prowling about the world, looking to take us down. Just last night during the Holy Hour, there was a line, just one line from the Norbertine Holy Hour. And it's the, don't let the sun go down on your anger. And something about that verse, yeah, it's Ephesians 4:26. Let's go with the Douay Rheims. Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your anger. New American Bible, be angry but do not sin. So the next verse is Ephesians 4:27. And do not give the devil a foothold. Or in the Douay Rheims, give not place to the devil. So there's some connection here between wrath or anger, sinful anger. It can't be the emotion of anger. The emotion of anger is morally neutral. It's the being. Be angry, but don't sin. I guess that's the challenge, isn't it? To fully feel the emotion of anger, because it's usually a response to a legitimate hurt or a legitimate injury. But don't sin. And if you let the sun go down on it, then you've slept on it. Then you've got a chance to dream on it, and it sits in your unconscious. Then you wake up the next day, and then you have another 24 hours worth of not facing it or not feeling it or not being forgiven or not forgiving. And that's where the devil gets a foothold. Think of a rock climber. He's getting a foothold closer to your heart. And that is not good. Mary Claire used to say that when she was a toddler. That is not good. Oh, Bishop Barron does not believe in Fatima, so he told me. That's right, I remember that exchange. Hello, Ann Kubala. Nice to see you. Ann, how are you? Gina says, now merging with Robert Johnson University Hospital of Johnson & Johnson fame. They say they will remain a Catholic entity, but that remains to be seen. Of course, maybe it remains to be verified how Catholic they are now, right, Gina? Catholic hospitals, like Catholic universities, usually need an asterisk next to them. Marty says, when we were first married, one of my sisters just took her irateness at me from childhood out on my wife instead because she was an easier target. On drives home from events, my wife would recount all the slights. After a while, I asked her, do you think X is thinking about you now? No. So why are you? Worry about what you can control, which isn't others' actions. It took a while, but she did and had much more peace because of it. Yeah, beautiful. Marty, that just sounds like the big book of AA wisdom right there. And the Serenity Prayer, of course. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Gilles says, I'm a difficult person too, though I'm not just cranky because I'm older. I'm just being more honest, much to the chagrin of those who put with me or put up with me. They say that saints are hard to live with because they just continually love truth more than Plato loves truth. Oh, Anne says, FYI, Biden just addressed the nation and ended by quoting Eagle's Wings. Of course he did. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings. Sing those impossible octave notes. Make you to shine like the sun. Sorry. Yeah, Susan, it's real. It's real, but if you say those words, the surrender, I give everything to you, Jesus, you realize that that's what heaven is. Surrendering. Peter Crave used to say that the theme song, the anthem of hell, is the Paul Anka song made famous by Frank Sinatra, My Way. My way is the opposite of I surrender to you, isn't it? All right, I'm a little bit frozen here. Let's get back in the saddle. Here we go. Okay. I'm a little behind. I'm going to catch up. Lorraine says, I know that I'm a very difficult person to deal with. I have little to no patience. That's where a good spiritual director can come in, Lorraine. There are tools you can learn, little tools. Let me find, there's a father, is it Basil Cole? No. It's one of the Opus Angelorum talk on patience. What is his name? It's the Orders of the Canons Regular of the Holy Cross. It's the order that Bishop Schneider belongs to. And I'll just send you their website. But Father, is it Basil? Dang. He gave a lovely 2-set talk on patience. Bishop Van's very difficult, Teresa says. Yeah, listen to this. Putting vax clinics on highly Hispanic church property and coercing families to get their children vaxxed, yet he declares this Texas shooting as a racist. He's an active player in the agenda of the New World Order. Orange County is a target for tyrannical control, and as he's a moral authority of a third of the county, he's the puppet they're using. That's my best guess on why he doesn't just stay quiet. Yep, makes sense. Marty, I always tell people, if you want to understand purgation and whether you need it before entering heaven, think about the most difficult person in your life and whether you would be totally happy to see them in heaven should you get there after you die. If they're not 100% happy, then they have to go through some purgation to align their wills to Jesus completely. Jesus won't blow away our wills. We need to conform to his. Ooh, that is it. Can we have Marty? Marty goes there. Tough word, brother. Tough word, but I think that's on point. Maybe that's why you should be careful about how you treat people. Because, if you make it and they make it, there's going to be some awkward conversations about life on earth. There it is. Yeah. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, the mode. A la mode. Wunderbar. I remember Leanne Payne at a conference saying the five most comforting words outside Scripture are from Dante. In his will, our peace. I think Marty just laid down a very Catholic principle that's not Protestant. The Protestant idea of heaven is me and Jesus, right? I can only imagine what it'll be like when I see your face and all your glory and all that, right? It's like praising the Lord and being washed in the blood of the Lamb forever and singing with the angels and saints. But what about your fellow Christians? What about the church? You're going to be with them, aren't you? Heaven just isn't a window onto how many ever millions or billions of the saved looking through their separate portal onto Jesus. We'll be together. We'll know each other as we were on earth. We'll know who we were married to. We'll know who our enemies were. All the good that's on earth will be purified in heaven. So, no. We have to incorporate the incarnation. We have to align our wills with Christ. And to do that, it hurts. It's the cross. But it's a yoke that's easy and a burden that's light. And until you're walking through it, that verse doesn't make a lot of sense. In his will, our peace. Love to hear some more examples from y'all. But thank you for that, Marty. That was awesome sauce. I'm learning a lot now from a book I've been rereading during Holy Hour. Introduction to the Devout Life by Francis de Sales. Endless stockpile of beauty and wisdom. As no sensible person would make a long road trip without first consulting a map, so the person intent upon gaining heaven should first resort to a competent guide to reach that goal of all goals. And no better guide to heaven exists than an introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales, Doctor of the Church. It's at once easy to read, being laid out in short chapters, yet thorough, authoritative, reliable, kind and gentle, a mirror of its author. It's a book, however, for all, because all are called to the devout life. True devotion to God, the author points out, adorns every vocation. The devout life, moreover, is a pleasant, and a happy life. So it's addressed to as a personal letter to this woman named Philothea, lover of God, who kind of represents the reader. So you're getting not a personalized, but a personal letter from a doctor of the church to you. There it is. Peter Crave just gave the commencement speech at Franciscan U. Oh, only 19 minutes, titled 10 Lies of Contemporary Culture. Very clever. He uses the my. Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. Thank you. Oh, here's a good question. Let's hear it for Anne. How do you not become a difficult person when you're at a diocesan event and people talk about how wonderful bishops such as Barron are? Well, you kind of have to. You have to go there, I think, saying, I like the Socratic method. Hey, did you see Bishop Barron's interviews with the openly gay Dave Rubin, who asked him about gay marriage? You should check that out. It's kind of surprising. Did you know that Ben Shapiro asked him about whether he, a Jew, could be saved, and Bishop Barron said, yeah, according to Vatican II, you're kind of saved by our conscience. And of course, Christ is the privileged route, but he didn't really reflect Catholic teaching at all. And hey, did you know that Bishop Barron doesn't believe in Adam and Eve? He says that they're literary constructs, they're just myths. And hey, Bishop Barron is one of the leaders of the LA Archdiocese, and yet they sponsor James Martin. Bishop Barron endorsed Father James Martin's latest book, called him a winsome guide. Bishop Barron was ordained by a pedophile homosexual, according to James Grine, who was his victim, according to James Grine, along with Teddy McCarrick. And then his other spiritual father, Father Wilton Gregory, who was ordained early as a bishop by Bernardine, who was one of the most pro-homosexualist bishops in the country. Bishop Barron praises him constantly, and just kind of plants some seeds of truth, other than Bishop Barron is a modernist heretic. I hate him. I'm a traditionalist Catholic. I am pure. He is impure. Do you like my robotic trad voice there? So I think, I know you know this, Anne. It's important to kill them with kindness. Just kind of ask questions with a smile. Wow. All right. Great question, though. So here is Susan. Susan says, I'm going to be a broken record here and say that these two books are the PB&J, that would be peanut butter and jelly, of dealing with difficulties, searching for and maintaining peace, as well as discernment of spirits. Now, searching for and maintaining peace is Father Jacques Philippe, right? Is discernment of spirits Father Timothy Gallagher? Because I really want to talk to Father Timothy Gallagher. I want him to do Transform You. Let me know if that's it. Can snarky be an acceptable way to reply, or are we risking uncharity in response? Okay, let me quote you something that was inspired by the Holy Spirit. This is for you, Marty, and for me. This is Ephesians chapter 5. Paul is battling the foolish Galatians, he calls them, the foolish Galatians. This is the NIV here. Oh, no, you know what? That's not a good translation for this particular verse. Let me go with the... I wonder if there's the RSV. Let's just go with the Douay Reams. Okay. Where is it now? Galatians 5. Now, why is this not... Sorry about this, folks. Let me go back to the... Originally, I don't know. Let's try the Revised Standard, Ephesians 5. Here we go. Now I, Paul, say to you that if you receive circumcision, Christ will be of no advantage to you. I testify again to every man who receives circumcision that he's bound to keep the whole law. You are severed from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. You have fallen away from grace. For through the Spirit, by faith, we wait for the hope of righteousness. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision is of any avail, but faith working through love. You were running well. You were running well. Who hindered you from obeying the truth? This persuasion is not from him who calls you. In other words, it's from Satan. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. I have confidence in the Lord that you will take no other view than mine, and he who is troubling you will bear his judgment, whoever he is. Here's verse 11. But if I, brethren, still preach circumcision, why am I still persecuted? In that case, the stumbling block of the cross has been removed. I wish those who unsettle you would mutilate themselves. Another translation says, would that they let the knife slip and cut off their organs. I think that's Holy Spirit inspired snark. That is blessed sarcasm. Because he doesn't really mean it, right? I hope you actually damage yourself, cut off your organ and have blood everywhere, and you have to go to the first century Palestine hospital. No. It's sarcasm. Blind guides, brood of vipers, calling men snakes. Why give to the dogs? Right? What belongs to the master? Calls the Syrophoenician woman a dog. Now, it has a pedagogical point. It's not sarcasm for sarcasm's sense. He's not being unchristian, being Jesus and all. Does this make sense? Now, you have to be careful because we're not St. Paul and we're not Jesus, so we have to be on extra guard that our words are not being used to wound out of a sense of grievance or remember that if you say to your brother Raka in your heart, you've already basically symbolically killed him. Like if you look at a woman with lust in your heart, you've already committed adultery with her. Make a bitter root judgment. It all starts in the heart. So we have to be careful about our words. Lorraine has a PhD in snark. Okay, good to know. Good to know. You're going to the diocesan gala tonight, Saturday night. Good. Remember, you're surrounded by very nice, very well-intentioned, blue-pilled Catholics. I've thought about starting another podcast, The Red-Pilled Catholic. What do you say? Or changing Coffin Nation to Red Pill Nation. Something like that. If anyone here has any connection with Father Timothy Gallagher, let me know. He's got a very good podcast, I hear. All right. Teresa is randomly laughing. That is awesome. Father Tim Gallagher. So I got an email from a priest whose name you might recognize. I won't blow his cover. I invited him to come on the show to talk to do a Transform You, and he wrote this. Dear Patrick, long time no hear indeed. Thanks for reaching out for the invitation to come for Transform You. Part of me would love to say yes, to pick up on our lively and fun conversations of years ago and focus on the contents of the book. The other part is concerned that it would confuse a lot of people who look to me to provide a clear trumpet. After your program on Pope Francis as an anti-pope, I had many reach out to me, bewildered and I had to talk them off the ledge. If I were to be a guest, they would no doubt wonder whether I've changed my mind and agree with you on that claim. For that reason, I don't think it's wise for me to come on the program, at least until after God comes to call Pope Francis home. My apologies and renewed gratitude for the invitation. So this is an example of a good priest, smart, not a dummy. I wouldn't have any, non-smart, faithful priest in my orbit, of course. But that's the blue pill in action. This priest identifies being a clear trumpet with siding with Francis. I don't know if he's watched the show, the evidence video. I am doing a compressed version, hopefully next week. Please God, that'll be up and out. And I'm taking into account the objections of my critics since it dropped on February 10th. But also the presupposition here that you can't use your mental muscle, you can't use your brains to see evidence until God calls Francis home. Like nothing can be done until he's dead. Does that apply to St. Catherine of Siena, who called Clement the Seventh as an antipope before God called him home? What about the other 30-plus antipopes that we've had that were all perfectly exposed as antipopes and the true popes confirmed? So maybe one definition of blue pill is allergic to evidence, allergic to facts. And believe me, I understand this reaction to the evidence. I took a longish runway to get there, and so I don't expect people to go, oh, yeah, makes perfect sense. Now, some have. I've talked to more and more priests, and they're like, Patrick, brilliant, yes, this confirms everything I've thought. I just didn't know much about the phrasing of the Declaratio and the Ratzinger Code, et cetera, et cetera. But, all you can do is what you can do. Yeah. A clear trumpet. Yeah, thanks, Paige. Okay, in what way is Francis a clear trumpet? He's not even a muted trumpet. He's a broken kazoo. I don't know how else to say it. Wow. Paige says, please start that Red Pill podcast. Yeah, that's cool. That'll get me even more trouble. Joseph, hey Joe. Here's Joe says, sometimes I struggle with righteous anger becoming wrathful when being challenged. I have to be careful about that because then the focus becomes more my reaction and the point of the argument is lost. I think that's the Italian in me. Yeah, that's valid. Bishop Sheen used to say it's possible to win the argument and lose the soul. And my friend Terry Barber always emphasizes, don't argue about the faith. Don't argue about it. You're not supposed to. Marty says, I may have responded back to the priest, well, even Jesus ate with the sinners in a self-deprecating way. Right, very good. Beautiful. Anne, may I ask, who's the speaker at the Diocesan Gala? Let me know. Rosemary Bree Dempsey, we definitely need to pray for more priestly courage. That's why it was so great to talk to Father Jim Altman. Here's another priest I want to tell you about. Father James Maudsley. I would start here. Start right here. Persecuted priest reflects upon Fatima. This is a very good exchange from about 3 weeks ago. Father James Maudsley was jailed before he was ordained. He was a layman traveling in New Zealand, and he heard about the Burmese prison conditions, so he snuck through the Thai border and began to intermingle with Burmese activists and ended up getting arrested for handing out pamphlets. Then he was arrested again. Then the third time he was beaten. A bit of torture happened to him, and he was given I don't know how many years. It became a cause célèbre in England because he was a British national, and the government was embarrassed into releasing him. But a very gutsy, he ran for maybe Parliament or some political office in the UK. He's one of Father James Altman's heroes, and that says a lot, right? If you want to know who Father Altman considers a hero, it's people like Father James Mosley. I'm now in touch with him. He's in Europe now. He learned German as an adult because he wanted to join the FSSP after it became clear that the Lord was calling him to the priesthood. So he speaks German and English and probably French, maybe Spanish or Italian. And he got himself suspended by the FSSP. Why? Because he could not in conscience give Holy Communion in the hand with a face diaper. And so he was in the Archdiocese of Vienna, run by another corrupt cardinal who used to be a certified good guy, namely Cardinal Christoph Schönborn. And he was suspended, so he's kind of another canceled priest, but just watch that clip. Forthright, manly, not a lot of words wasted, truth above all. And he's going to be in Southern California, so we might do another live event if the Sando Studios is available. It's a priest worth supporting. And says, it's a fundraiser for seminarians. Okay. No speaker, but a band. Live auction and silent auction. I did see an advertisement in both our local paper and the diocesan magazine that Archbishop Wilton Gregory is coming to our town in November. Remember, he's a cardinal now. Wow. Okay. That's the old rugged cross. I'm looking something up here. I am in touch with someone. I'm going to be speaking with her later tonight. This is if she agrees to do it, I'm in touch with her and her husband to make sure that they know me and know why I'm doing this. She was a victim of what's called SRA, satanic ritual abuse. She was sexually assaulted in her parents' basement in Minnesota by a priest from the West Coast, who's now laicized. We're talking very disturbing demonic grooming for a satanic black mass. And the one man who held the key to her recovery and justice for her and answers was Bishop Bob McElroy, who slammed every door in this young woman's face, lying about this priest, saying there was no file on him. And even if there was a file on him, he wouldn't cough up any goods. So McElroy is about to make probably Chicago. I don't think it's announced yet, but he's probably going to get Chicago to replace Supich. This woman's story is so disgusting and so terrifying, which is exactly why I think it needs to be heard. Because she's not alone. This weird satanic crap is not exactly tiny 1% and 1%. Remember the case in New Orleans where the priest bought hookers and violated the altar? I knew one of his professors, Chris Baglow, good guy. Always thought there was something weird about that priest. So pray for her. She's got an enormous amount of courage. She has young children now, and she doesn't want to do it, but she wants to do it because this red hat move is pure Peronist political messaging. San Diego isn't even a cardinal at sea. It's just so ridiculous. So I guess it's part of going there. I have not seen Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? No. I'd like to watch it. Matt is a little bit, Yvette says, I thought yours is a Red Pill podcast. Yeah, just going for trying to go with nailing the title of the show with what it is. If people don't know me, maybe more people will listen if it's called the Red Pill podcast or the Red Pill Catholic. Okay, Marty, one of the most annoying people for me are the exception finders. Yes, meaning no matter what you say, they want to find an exception. As if that exception disproves a general assertion. Usually said in an aha tone. They get so tiresome. So the avoidance mitigation is the one for me, if possible. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Marty. That's so great. Oh, my gosh. Or how about, this is a variation on Smarty Corrector Pants, right? Mr. Smarty Corrector Pants. These people show up as fake name trolls on Twitter, and they just have to correct every little jot and tittle. Well, that's not really true in this particular case. There's an exception over here to that. Why are you doing this? That's so good. Yeah. Yes, with the aha. There's another kind of Catholic that, especially the ones in apologetics, they love the whole spirit of, well, you've heard it said, but I say unto thee, Mythbusters, and that's not really true. Okay, wunderbar. Yeah, I don't think Matt Walsh likes me very much. He can be a little bit sharp-elbowed. I've clashed with him here and there. He's a good guy. He's a fellow Catholic. But he, when Robin Williams killed himself, Matt Walsh said some very horrific, brutal things, I thought, that he died from choice and that people shouldn't excuse suicide by hiding behind mental illness, knowing nothing about Robin Williams and the depth of his pathology and horror and all of his problems multiplied on top of each other. But I credit Matt Walsh with going on the Dr. Drew. Oh, not Dr. Drew, Dr. Phil. It's he did a very good job. I have to credit Matt for being willing to go in there. Ugh, gross. Matt Walsh versus Addison Rose. Here's the full debate. One bunk. Here we go. Here it is. So, yeah, I'll definitely watch it. I'm also a little bit confused about 2,000 Mules because I thought this is... I know it's not contradicting, but I thought that all the Mike Lindell evidence and the Sidney Powell Kraken was electronic in nature, that this was software like Dominion. Then it went to Germany, and it went to China, and then it went to Hoboken, and then it went, and that's how they stole the election. 2,000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza is all about mules or employees being hired to stuff fake ballots for Biden and Democrats in the middle of the night undercover and then photographing themselves so they would get paid. I guess it could be both, but these documentaries come out, this evidence come out, and they come out and nothing happens. No, Anne, I have not seen the Ricky Gervais comedy special. Is that the one where he goes after trans? Ricky does not give a bleep. I have written a 3,000-word essay inviting Ricky Gervais to come on my show. It's called The Coming Conversion of Ricky Gervais, and I'm going to be tagging him aggressively on Twitter to shame him into coming on the Patrick Coffin Show to talk about his atheism, which I think is a hobby more than a conviction. I don't think he believes deeply in his own atheism. He became an atheist when he was 8 years old. He tells this story in 2 different interviews, and I think it's really fascinating. So I review his top shows, starting with his something like introducing Ricky Gervais. It was before The Office. Then he did radio, but it was the TV show before The Office that kind of helped him hit his stride. I thought The Office was genius. And then he did Extras that was co-starring Stephen Merchant, his fellow writer and co-star. And then he did Derek, really fascinating. He plays a retarded guy. In fact, I want you to watch this retarded guy scene. Yeah, Rosemary, multiple means. Yeah, Pete, there's Pete Socks. Exactly, and nothing happens. Thank you, friend. Right on. Here, I link this in my invitation to Ricky Gervais. And I want you to watch this scene and ask yourself, how many actors can do what Ricky Gervais does in this 5-minute scene? It's one of the most electrifying, emotionally brutally real thing. And I just love Ricky Gervais so much. I just think he is a prophet. Ricky Gervais is an outsider, insider. He said, I would never have slapped. No, he was talking about the Will Smith slap months after it happened, recently in a podcast interview. That joke that he told about Jada Pinkett Smith, I would never have told a joke about hair. Never. I would have joked about her boyfriend. And just doubling and tripling down. But this is a scene from Derek. And Ricky Gervais says in another interview that Derek is his hero. He says, Derek reminds me of me when I was 8. Amazing. So I watched Afterlife, which is his only 3-season show, but I didn't see the comedy special. And if you've never seen it, I will share with you here the 2020 Golden Globes monologue. One for the ages. Now, here's the monologue. I'm not offended by F-bombs. If you are, don't watch it. It's oh, you know what? This is a compilation. Let me get the actual. Here it is. He's just unchained. Unchained. Oh yeah, Don Rickles, George Carlin. These are prophets. Prophets, I tell you, among our midst. Yes. Okay. So haven't seen The Office. I get British humor. Would I be better getting the British show? Oh yeah. I love Steve Carell, but the first couple of shows, maybe the first season, I haven't watched at all, is a direct shot-by-shot remake. It's the same thing, but made into America. I think the British one is brilliant. And the 2-episode Christmas special is genuinely moving. Yeah, and BBC version better, especially if you've ever had a job in that like that you didn't like, right? 100%. Yeah. In Extras, he plays an extra who wants to be an actor, and celebrities play slightly weird versions of himself. He definitely goes there. Good to see you, Pete. Petros, my valued associate producer, behind the scenes guru. Pete and I are knocking on the door of Kathy Barnett. I still want to interview that woman, Pete. I'm also trying to find JD Vance. If you guys, this might be good. If you guys can ping JD everywhere, like I think he's active on Twitter. I think JD Vance. I mentioned him in the Coffin Report because he went on record last year in Crisis Magazine as supporting banning porn. He is the Senate candidate for Ohio, and I think he's going to win. He wrote Hillbilly Elegy. And yeah, he's pro-life. He's a Catholic convert. He's a buddy of my good friend Scott Hans, and I'd love to have him on the show. So if you guys can put a good word, that would be great. Very gutsy. So that's JD Vance. On Twitter, he's j.d. Let's put it here. If y'all are on the Twitter. Yeah, you can find it. Yeah, I just found it from January 5th. Yeah, it's just he just hits everybody. Now, Elon, I tagged Elon Musk on Twitter because he I asked him why is what's the word? Why is Twitter banning the Vancouver Sun story about Paul Pelosi, who was charged with having kiddie porn, Nancy Pelosi's husband. It's not trending anywhere, but it's a real account from the Vancouver Sun. Amazing. Yeah. Hey, Elon Musk, why is Twitter censoring the Vancouver Sun story about Nancy Pelosi's husband getting busted with child porn? No answer. No answer. Oh, interesting. Someone named Sean P. I'm starting to think at Coffin Media is right. Pope Francis is a usurper. A true pope would never do or say the things he says and does. He behaves as a politician. That's the beginning of a long list of ways of saying it. But let's go back to y'all. Mr. Knowles might know Vance. Yeah. Michael might know Vance. But I find that other hosts are kind of tight-lipped about sharing guests. So I'm gonna try through Scott Hahn too. Alrighty then. Yeah, George Carlin has a hilarious thing on. Now there's a guy who's probably a difficult person. Yeah, Ricky G seems like a difficult person. He actually said in an interview something that I hope he doesn't mean. I don't know if you've seen the show Afterlife. It's on the evil Netflix. Someone gave me their creds to watch it. It's about a man who's an atheist. He always plays atheist. Who is finding it very hard to get over his wife, who's died from cancer, and he watches videos that she made from her hospital bed, knowing that he would be watching it after she's gone, helping him move on with life. And it's sorrowful in one way, but it's also real. And he asks really gritty questions. And the last scene of the last episode in season 3 is just one of the most emotionally satisfying things. But yeah, he definitely has that gritty realism to him. But the thing he says, he's talking about his not wife, whose name is Jane Fallon. Jane Fallon went to St. Bernard's Prep School, which is a Catholic school in London. And of course, the Catholic school system in England is destroyed. So naturally, she's also probably a fellow agnostic. I would be stunned if she was a practicing Catholic. But he was asked about, if you die first. I think he's 62. And he said, well, I hope I would go first, because I couldn't bear to go through what the character Tony Johnson does in the show. I just couldn't bear it. Well, dude, that makes you a moral monster. Wouldn't you want her to go first so that you carried that burden and not her? Wouldn't that be an act of love and self-sacrifice? Or maybe you don't. Maybe that admission is a tell. You don't really love her. Doesn't love endure all things, suffer all things, wait for all things, hope in all things? Entryways. Thank you for that. Yes. Also DUI. Paul Pelosi also was involved in the drunk death of his brother years and years and years ago. You can look that up. Yeah, that's true, Lorraine. To circle on difficult people, God does not require of us the martyrdom of the body. He requires only the martyrdom of the heart and the will. St. Jean Vianney. Very good. Okay, so Pete's pursuing another avenue. Difficult spouses are difficult too, because they're it's a daily thing. Difficult bosses, that becomes a challenge, because how do you mitigate that? Maybe you throw that question to Marty. How do you mitigate a boss who's difficult? You can ignore a coworker. Kind of hard to ignore a boss. In a way, kind of hard to ignore an employee too. Right? The workplace is an added layer of concern. There it is. I wonder if there's any biblical stuff on difficult people. openbible.info. Here's a couple. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:1. Romans 12:18. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Proverbs 12:16. The vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. Matthew 5:10-12. Blessed are you who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For they that persecuted the prophets who were before you. Galatians 5:14-15. I'll add this in too. Might be a nice spot to end. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, watch out that you are not consumed by one another. One more here. James 3, verses 13-16. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but it's earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. That's a goodie. Right there. Marty says, I'm old enough to remember in the 80s when codependency was all the rage and explaining things seems to have died out. Yeah, that was, I think a lot of books had that word in its title. I have a codependent joke. What's the last thing that flashes before the mind of a codependent just before he hits the pavement if he jumps off the Empire State Building? Someone else's life. Beautiful. So I think we're back to 1 Corinthians 13, verse 1. Love is patient. Love is patient. That's that white martyrdom Father James Altman talks about. Martyrdom, red or white. And uniting the cross that you're given with the cross of Christ. Think of the difficult people Jesus dealt with. His foster father Joseph, had to deal with one of the Herods, then the next Herod in the family chain of evil. Judged Jesus, sent him back to Pilate. Pilate and Herod became friends. They'd been estranged enemies. They became friends over the body of Christ. Pilate himself, there's a difficult person. Think of it. He knew Christ was innocent. He says it again and again and again. And he goes all the way to the end of the line, but then seals the deal, because then the Jews in the crowd say, if you're no friend of Caesar. He calls himself the king of the Jews. Like they care about Caesar. So Herod, Pilate, the first guard that struck him, the other guards that struck him, the temple guards that arrested him, Judas who kissed him, betrayed him to his death, Peter who denied him 3 times, the guards in Caiaphas's palace, and the guards that put the nails in his hands and his feet and scourged him and thrust on his head, his beautiful, innocent head, the crown of thorns. And if you read Dr. Mark Kubala's book or watch my interview with him this past Good Friday, you'll see all of the medical damage and the real cause of our Lord's death. So whenever you think you're dealing with a difficult person, just remember our beautiful Savior. Remember his passion, freely undergone, out of love for you and me. Every imaginable torment, one after the other. Maybe to give us a model of patience in our own context, knowing that in his infinite mercy, he's given us an infinitely valuable modeling of patience in the faith of really difficult people. works for me, even though it doesn't really take away the pain of the present moment. You can understand it. Peter craved. I'll leave this. I'll leave you with this. Making sense of suffering. Beautiful book. It's just one of Peter Crave's most lovely books. I miss that guy. He stayed in our house, stayed in one of the girls' rooms when we lived in Alpine. Kind of a treat. Okay, amen. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Marty. God's peace be with everyone as you traverse the coming week. Beautiful. Thank you. Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us. I'm going into week 7 of the Surrender Novena, which I shared above. So thank you, Marty. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Therese and Pete and Gilles and Lorraine and Anne and Rosemary and Teresa and Therese Paul. Do I have you all? And Paige, if you're still there. And Joe. You're all beautiful people. So thank you. Hope this is a help. Maybe you can share this with your friends and share Coffee Nation with your pastor. If you think this is something that your pastor can join, it's free for clergy. And we love our priest members. And with that, I'll bid you adieu. Thank you for being non-difficult. God bless you. Be a saint.